So what we said was we'll keep Medicare Advantage and we'll give them a small premium if they're providing better services for seniors, but we're going to make you compete for it a little bit. And we're going to save tens of billions of dollars in the process. And that will go into paying for the Affordable Care Act. So the bottom line is, through these various mechanisms we raised enough money to pay for providing health insurance for those who don't have it, to provide these tax credits in the marketplace. And at the same time, because we're driving down costs, we actually end up saving a little money. It is a net reduction of our deficit. The irony of those who are talking about repealing Obamacare because it's so wildly expensive is if they actually repealed the law, it would add to the deficit. It would add to the deficit. Now, there have been a couple of Republicans in the House who have been smart enough to say, we're going to repeal all the benefits so that 25, 30 million people don't get health insurance. But we're going to keep the taxes that Obama raised, we just won't talk about that. And then, that way we can say we reduced the deficit. But obviously, you're doing some funny business there with the budget. But, look, nothing is free. The bottom line, though, is do we want to continue to live in a society where we've got the most inefficient healthcare system on earth? Leaving millions of people exposed to the possibilities that they could lose everything because they get sick? Or we've got little children and families going to the emergency room once a week. Because they've got asthma and other preventable diseases. Because their families aren't linked up with a primary care physician who is providing them regular care? Where the costs to society for reduced productivity, illnesses, etc., all burden our businesses. Is that the kind of society we aspire to? And I think the answer is no. And the notion that we would resist, or at least some would resist as fiercely as they have. Make this their number one agenda, perpetuating a system in which millions of people across the country hard-working Americans don't have access to health care, I think is wrong. W.J. Clinton, we have to close. But I will close with a story. I told you all this morning that the employee that our health access program lost in the Kenya mall shooting was a Dutch nurse. And we spend a lot of time in the Netherlands, we get a lot of support there. Oxy is one of the biggest insurance companies in Europe. They're one of our partners here. I went to celebrate their 200th anniversary with them. They started as a fire insurance company with 39 farmers, 200 years ago. And we were out there in this big farm field in a tent in the shadow of a 13th century church and a big Dutch windmill. And I asked the chairman of the company, I said, "Do you write health insurance?" Because in the Netherlands there's no Medicare and no Medicaid. Everybody is on an individual mandate and you just subsidize people based on their incomes. He said, "Yes, I write it, we all do." And he looked at me and he said, "But we don't make any money on it." And he said, "We shouldn't. This guy is running a huge. Can you imagine somebody saying that in America?" So the First Lady is trying to keep us all healthier, and you're trying to change the delivery and the pricing. And you have to cover everybody to do it. I think this is a big step forward for America. This will, over the next decade, not only make us healthier, but it will free up in the private sector largely. Funds that can then be reinvested in other areas of economic growth, and give us a much more well-balanced economy. But, first, we've got to get everybody to sign up. President Obama, everybody, sign up. Go to healthcare.gov. Thank you very much. W.J. Clinton, thank you. Barack Obama. On the use of chemical weapons by Syrian government. Delivered August 31, 2013, White House, Washington, D. C. 10 days ago, the world watched in horror as men, women and children were massacred in Syria in the worst chemical weapons attack of the 21st century. Yesterday the United States presented a powerful case that the Syrian government was responsible for this attack on its own people. Our intelligence shows the Assad regime and its forces preparing to use chemical weapons. launching rockets in the highly populated suburbs of Damascus, and acknowledging that a chemical weapons attack took place. And all of this corroborates what the world can plainly see: hospitals overflowing with victims. Terrible images of the dead. All told, well over 1,000 people were murdered. Several hundred of them were children, young girls and boys, gassed to death by their own government. This attack is an assault on human dignity. It also presents a serious danger to our national security. It risks making a mockery of the global prohibition on the use of chemical weapons. It endangers our friends and our partners along Syria's borders. Including Israel, Jordan, Turkey, Lebanon, and Iraq. It could lead to escalating use of chemical weapons. Or their proliferation to terrorist groups who would do our people harm. In a world with many dangers, this menace must be confronted. Now, after careful deliberation, I have decided that the United States should take military action against Syrian regime targets. This would not be an open-ended intervention. We would not put boots on the ground. Instead, our action would be designed to be limited in duration and scope. But I'm confident we can hold the Assad regime accountable for their use of chemical weapons. Deter this kind of behavior, and degrade their capacity to carry it out. Our military has positioned assets in the region. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs has informed me that we are prepared to strike whenever we choose. Moreover, the chairman has indicated to me that our capacity to execute this mission is not time sensitive. It will be effective tomorrow, or next week, or 1 month from now. And I'm prepared to give that order. But having made my decision as Commander-in-Chief based on what I am convinced is our national security interests. I'm also mindful that I'm the president of the world's oldest constitutional democracy. I've long believed that our power is rooted not just in our military might, but in our example as a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And that's why I've made a second decision. I will seek authorization for the use of force from the American people's representatives in Congress. Over the last several days, we've heard from members of Congress who want their voices to be heard. I absolutely agree. So this morning, I spoke with all 4 congressional leaders. And they've agreed to schedule a debate and then a vote as soon as Congress comes back into session. In the coming days, my administration stands ready to provide every member with the information they need to understand what happened in Syria and why it has such profound implications for America's national security. And all of us should be accountable as we move forward, and that can only be accomplished with a vote. I'm confident in the case our government has made without waiting for you. And inspectors. I'm comfortable going forward without the approval of a United Nations Security Council that so far, has been completely paralyzed and unwilling to hold Assad accountable. As a consequence, Many people have advised against taking this decision to Congress, and undoubtedly, they were impacted by what we saw happen in the United Kingdom this week when the parliament of our closest ally failed to pass a resolution with a similar goal, even as the Prime Minister supported taking action. Yet, while I believe I have the authority to carry out this military action, without specific congressional authorization, I know that the country will be stronger if we take this course. And our actions will be even more effective. We should have this debate, because the issues are too big for business as usual. And this morning, John Boehner, Harry Reid, Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell agreed that this is the right thing to do for our democracy. A country faces few decisions as grave as using military force, even when that force is limited. I respect the views of those who call for caution. Particularly as our country emerges from a time of war that I was elected in part to end. But if we really do want to turn away from taking appropriate action in the face of such an unspeakable outrage, then we must acknowledge the costs of doing nothing. Here's my question for every member of Congress and every member of the global community. What message will we send if a dictator can gas hundreds of children to death in plain sight and pay no price? What's the purpose of the international system that we built if a prohibition on the use of chemical weapons that has been agreed to by the governments of 98% of the world's people and approved overwhelmingly by the Congress of the United States is not enforced?